Welcome back to Warehouse and Operations as a Career. I'm Marty, and I hope you're having a productive and prosperous week. Can you believe it's May already? We're in the 5th month of 2018, and my gosh, time is just flying by. This week I had the opportunity to slow down a little and kind of get back to basics. I really enjoyed speaking with some warehousemen at a couple of different facilities. I had a few site visits that were scheduled, and most of the management teams were either busy or on vacation, so I was able to just walk around and introduce myself to some receivers and unloaders. I met a very interesting put-away associate. He was an accomplished and really experienced reach lift driver. And I met a couple of over-the-road drivers. Those conversations are always interesting. Each one of my new friends was on their second or third position with their respective employers. I love all the opportunities our industry provides us and seeing people really advancing within their careers. It's great seeing those plans coming together. One of my favorite and most enjoyable tasks is getting to do some recruiting and interviewing individuals for employment. I don't get to do much of it anymore, and this week I had the opportunity, and of course I jumped right on it. My first interview was a young gentleman that had worked in the warehouse before. He had been in the construction field for the last 4 or 5 years. I believe it was 4 years. His warehousing experience really consisted of about 1 year with the electric pallet jack, running some pallets, a little sanitation, and about 6 months of unloading trailers. He added that he felt comfortable on the forklift. I think he had been on a set-down counterbalance for about 6 months in all. While reviewing his resume, and of course it was really heavy with construction duties, I noticed he had listed several certifications and courses with health and safety, all in the construction industry. It was evident to me that he was really interested in the safety field. With all this in hand, I grabbed his application, attached his resume, and brought him back to an interview room. After introducing myself and throwing out a little small talk, I asked him what type of work that he was really looking for. He shared he thought construction was going to be his career choice a while back, but due to having to rely on different contractors and companies, placing bids and getting them accepted and everything being ready to sign, he just wasn't getting enough work. We reviewed his resume together, and by asking more in-depth questions, I was able to ascertain he had a lot more warehousing experience than he had written, or maybe it was the way that it was written. I explained to him how when I had first read his work history, it came across as very little warehousing, and I hadn't gotten that feeling of really passion from it as I had from our talk. I brought up safety and discovered he held several certificates in operations as well, even an OSHA 10-hour in the general industry. I spent a little time with him and helped him rework his resume. We sat down and explained more on his earlier positions and his safety knowledge. It looked much better for the positions that he was applying for now. I presented it to a recruiter, introduced him to the recruiter, and they placed him, and he went to his pit training the very next day. He's been hired now. My second interview was one that almost got away. He filled out the application, but had not attached the requested resume. He just kind of listed his work history. Really, I guess, he just named the places that he had worked and provided some contact names and numbers as references. It looked to me like they may have been his supervisors at each place. So he had walked in about lunchtime. A couple of the recruiters were with other applicants, and the others were kind of out of the building at the time. I just happened to be walking by as the receptionist was letting him know that she'd get his paperwork to a recruiter and someone would be reaching out to him. Since I was standing there anyway, I went ahead and asked her for his information and invited him to come on back. Now, she thanked me but commented that he didn't seem to have the experience for the equipment positions that he was applying for. But I guess me being an ops guy, I wanted to see what had brought him in and what he was actually looking for. To keep a long story short, while I was speaking with him, of course I wasn't familiar with the company's names that he had listed, but by digging into what he had done for each one of those companies, I learned he actually had over 6 years of single and double pallet jack usage, and that he had been operating a stand-up reach truck for, I think it was the last 4 of those years. It took me about 45 minutes to get him to share all of his experiences with me, but now he'd offered up enough for me to actually work with. I sat with him and we banged out a resume in about 30 minutes or so and presented him to a recruiter, and he actually starts work next Monday. The moral to my stories is, we're selling experience, our history, and really kind of a peek into our personalities when we're out looking for a job. I'm honestly not sure that a recruiter screening either one of these 2 applicants would have pulled their applications out of the stack for an interview. I'll throw out that responsibility word again. I feel we have to own up to the fact that we're the ones asking for a chance. A recruiter may look at 100 different resumes or applications a day on a computer screen. We have to give them a good reason to call us, right? You might want to check out our episode 4, titled The Resume, and maybe episode 5, The Interview. We kind of explain how to put a resume together. It's not a hard endeavor at all, and a little on how we can prepare ourselves to ace that face-to-face interview. It's so important that we use the right keywords to get their attention and to make sure it highlights our experiences for the positions that we're applying for. I think we need to take advantage of every minute that we get to speak with a potential employer. It's those few minutes we'll get to win them over with our personalities, our positive attitudes, and convince them that we will be their next hire. Oh, and I just looked up a couple of other episodes that you may find helpful. Episode 42, The Job Fair, we talk a bit on presenting ourselves. And maybe episode 45, Making Job Boards and Social Media Work for Us. It'll help us understand what a hiring agent is going to try and learn about us. I mentioned earlier how we're the one looking for a chance or a shot when we're out there job hunting, and how our hiring agents need some help from us to realize our value. I think it's our responsibility alone to project that, right? Well, this morning I stopped in at another office. This facility hires only for light industrial positions, and the recruiters only reach out to the most qualified candidates to begin with. Their available positions really needs that production experience. Well, the sourcing agent had identified a great candidate. Had all the experience necessary, really kind of that perfect fit for the job. So she went ahead and called him, and he actually nailed the phone interview. Sounded like he would love the position. She wanted to set up a face-to-face interview, really just a formality, I think. They both pretty much agreed they were looking at a perfect fit here. Let me grab a sheet of paper that she had given me. Let's see. Okay, she had written a note in the note field of the application, and I want to get it right. Okay, she noted, "He is not able to come in for our interviews since we are not paying for his gas. If we can come to an agreement to pay for his gas, he can stop by our office." The candidate stated he is interested, yet this is his offer to us. Now, not that recruiters don't see things like this ever so often, but the job was 23 miles away. Really easy driving miles, freeway miles actually. He really wanted the position, but felt like his prospective employer should pay to meet him, I guess. Out of curiosity, I asked her how many other people had applied for this position. There was 167 others in the machine. She filled the position a bit later in the day. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with him having his own conditions while looking for employment, but that moment is gone now. If he calls in tomorrow, the position's already been filled. I'd think if it was just a matter of not having the gas to come out today, which is certainly understandable, all he would have needed to do is state that to her. Let her know that he'd like to come out in a few days. I bet the door would have been open, at least to another position or job. Let's all remember a good resume, not a professionally made one necessarily, just one that tells what we've done and why we're the best candidate is really all we need. Use keywords so the recruiter will want to know more about us, and that's a really important part to it. I said a little earlier, we're the ones needing a shot, but our new employer is needing a great crew member too. I feel it's our responsibility to do a little research on where we want to work, and let's go ahead kind of shortcut for them having to do so much research on us. The bottom line is we need each other, right? I really enjoyed sharing a couple of this week's stories with you today, and I hope each of you heard something that kind of rang a bell for you. I want to thank each one of you for checking in with us each week, and we really appreciate your participation immensely. Please email host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com with any topics that you'd like us to research for you or with any comments about the show. Well, until next week, have a productive, prosperous, and safe week out there.